in the sport of MMA, there's none more compelling than the heels. The bad guys that want nothing more than the boos of the crowd. In this video, we've listed 10 of the most infamous heels in the sport. Be sure to leave any fighters that you think we missed out on in the comments down below. Chael Sonnen. This guy's nickname says it all, the bad guy. After an unsuccessful attempt to capture the WEC middleweight title, Chael Sonnen returned to the UFC in 2009. He amassed a record of 3-1 in his second stint with the company, which earned him a championship fight against the long-reigning Anderson Silva. In an attempt to get under the champion's skin, Sonnen took a full heel turn, constantly belittling Silva in his homeland of Brazil.
If we're playing in a hypothetical world and Anderson's able to beat me, that's not going to mean Anderson's that good, that just means I'm that bad.
Despite losing the fight in the final moments, Sonnen kept his heel persona and embraced it to its fullest.
I'm going to Brazil. I will be there. We have a press conference there on Tuesday. So I'm trying to smooth things over with these guys, but I don't exactly know how, right? So I packed a suitcase full of gifts, full of things from America that they don't have. I'm trying to merge. Yeah, I'm trying to merge the two countries in a way, that maybe we can work together. For example, I bought packets of soap for them. Because I know they don't have it!
Another 2 wins found Sonnen back in the spotlight with Silva, in a fight he would lose convincingly. In a situation that's rather uncommon in MMA, Chael earned a title shot coming off a convincing loss. Many believe that Sonnen's natural gift for being able to amp up a fight was the main reason behind his light heavyweight encounter with Jon Jones. While Sonnen never captured an elusive UFC title, he did go on to become one of the most well-known figures in MMA history. Brock Lesnar. Since his first day on the job in MMA, Brock Lesnar has made it clear he was not out there to make friends. The WWE superstar had always been known as a heel in the world of professional wrestling, and wasn't expected to drop the act once he arrived in the UFC. Lesnar would go on to win the UFC heavyweight title in only 4 professional bouts. He would avenge his first ever loss to Frank Mir at UFC 100, which ended up being a turning point for the Minnesotan. Following his rematch with Mir, Lesnar proceeded to scream in his opponent's face before being dragged away by Octagon security. On that very same night, Lesnar infamously spit his mouthpiece into a ringside camera. In his post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, he went on to diss Bud Light, the UFC's official beer sponsor at the time, for allegedly not paying him enough sponsorship money.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Colby Covington. Colby Chaos Covington has made himself into a mainstream star through methods that are undoubtedly controversial.
Yeah, I said everything I was gonna do. I don't think there's very many media in here that picked me to win this fight. Definitely all the nerds on Instagram and Twitter didn't pick me to win this fight, so it's good to shut them all up, The nerd tears, it's a great feeling.
The Oregon native amassed a solid UFC record of 3-1 in his first 16 months with the company. Covington noted in many interviews after his heel turn that the UFC's brass wanted to cut him prior to his fight with Damian Maia.
3 fights ago, before I fought the number 2 guy in the world, this guy named Damian Maia in Brazil, they had told my manager, Dan Lambert, that they weren't going to re-sign me. They didn't like my style. They didn't like that I wasn't entertaining. And this is before I really started to become an entertainer and understand the entertainment aspect of this business.
After his dominant win over the aforementioned Maia, Covington shot a now infamous pro wrestling-esque promo on the Brazilian crowd and then champ Tyron Woodley.
I should have knocked him out. Brazil, you're a dog. All you filthy animals suck. I got one thing to say. Tyron Woodley, I'm coming for you. If you don't answer the front door, I'm going to knock it in.
The promo saved Covington from being cut from the promotion and earned him 2 title fights. Covington also made history by becoming the first champion to be invited to the White House by the US President Donald Trump. Henry Cejudo. Despite having only turned full heel for a little over a year, Henry the Messenger Cejudo has etched his name in the MMA history books as one of the biggest heels in the sport. The California native was always relatively soft-spoken, both inside and outside of the cage.
It's using the platform that God has given me for the greater good.
But prior to his fight with then bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw, Cejudo began to express a side of himself that fans had never seen before. The Olympian strolled into a mandatory press conference with his Olympic medal around his neck with a snake in his hand. Following his spectacular win over Dillashaw, Cejudo finally embraced his heel persona, being the self-proclaimed king of cringe.
My name is Triple C, Olympic champion, flyweight champion of the world, and now bantamweight champion of the world. I am the greatest combat athlete of all time, and I just stole the title for the best pound-for-pound fighter too!
Tito Ortiz. The Huntington Beach bad boy Tito Ortiz has been a staple of the MMA community since the early 2000s. However, it hasn't always been for the most positive reasons. The former light heavyweight champion had one of the very earliest feuds in MMA, with the legendary training academy The Lion's Den. Following his win over Guy Mezger, Ortiz flipped the birds to his camp, which included UFC 1 veteran Ken Shamrock. From then onwards, Ortiz made his name by feuding with anyone and everyone he laid eyes on.
Let the beatings begin!
I dislike this man. Not even a man. He's a child.
At one point, the Californian was even set to fight former manager and UFC president Dana White in a boxing match, due to the pair's feud getting so heated. Josh Koscheck. Well, he may not spring to mind at first thought. MMA welterweight Josh Koscheck was certainly a heel during his time in the sport.
Son of a bitch. Give me my plunger back.
The former UFC title challenger first noticed that people had a disdain for him while he was on the Ultimate Fighter TV show. Koscheck never tried to change people's opinions and stuck with who he was. The Pennsylvanian had a notorious reputation for faking injuries inside the octagon, notably against Anthony Rumble Johnson and Paul Daly. He was also known for causing chaos as a coach on the Ultimate Fighter, opposite future opponent George St. Pierre. Now the 42-year-old is retired from competition, but the disdain for him still remains. Jon Jones. Although he was long perceived as the UFC's clean-cut Boy Scout, multiple-time UFC light heavyweight champion Jon Bones Jones is a notorious figure in the long list of MMA heels.
Hey, pussy, are you still there? I'm here.
The New Yorker has had a slew of legal issues since the start of his UFC title reign that are far too long to list in this video. Unfortunately for Jones, it doesn't end there for him. On top of his run-ins with the law, Jones failed multiple doping tests for both PEDs and cocaine.
I beat you after a weekend of cocaine.
Rousimar Palhares. This next entry will certainly outrage MMA fans around the world. Brazilian leg lock specialist Rousimar Palhares is widely regarded as one of the dirtiest fighters to ever compete inside the octagon. During his UFC stint, Palhares was known for all the wrong reasons. He had a reputation for being a deadly submission artist, but also had one for not letting go of said submissions. Notably, Palhares held on to submissions against Mike Pierce and Jake Shields. Due to his despicable behavior, he lost his spot in the UFC.
He had the lock and he didn't let it go. Finally, he let it go, but yeah, I'm gonna cut him too.
Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping is a respected member of the MMA community, but early in his career, the Count was once a heel.
All I care about is smashing this dickhead's head in tomorrow night. That's gonna happen.
In the early days of his MMA career, Britt Bisping was known for his abusive trash talk. As he climbed both the middleweight and the light heavyweight rankings, Bisping feuded with many fellow contenders. Notably, he got into heated verbal exchanges with Jorge Rivera before their bout at UFC 127.
This is a press conference, by the way, Jorge. This is what you do. I know it's your first time involved in something like this. Welcome to the big leagues. After this, you'll be back to the undercard, believe me.
After illegally kneeing his opponent in the second round, Bisping would finish Rivera with strikes in the third one. Following the win, the British star spat at the opposing corner.
Go home, loser! Hey!
Bisping even managed to feud with Canadian megastar and total nice guy George St. Pierre.
But I want to make as big as possible, so everything I'm gonna do the biggest fight as possible, and I want to make.
No one gives a f***. No one gives a f***, George. You went away, you went and chased aliens. I don't know what you did. No one gives a f*** where you were or what you did.
Daniel Cormier. To cap off our list, we've listed one of the most decorated athletes in combat history. Daniel DC Cormier is widely known for his commentary and analyst work for the UFC, and is generally liked by the MMA community. DC began his stint in the UFC racking up 2 dominant wins, which placed him at the top of the UFC heavyweight rankings. Despite this, Cormier opted to drop down to the 205-pound division. 2 more wins firmly placed Cormier into the title picture at light heavyweight, where he would find himself in a heated feud with champion Jon Jones. The disdain for one another resulted in a violent scuffle at a UFC 178 media event. DC had gone full heel since his feud with Jones, and embraced it when facing other light heavyweight contenders.
Who me? I'm getting money and championship belts. What's up?
My friend, I have to ask you, Are you the hero or are you the heel? Because you certainly had a lot to say on the microphone tonight to Jimmy Manawa, to John Jones, to everybody out there in the world.
They can all get it. They can all get this lyrical masterpiece. It does. I don't care. I don't care. You know, I'm not going to sit here and beg for cheers, you know. Cheer who you want. At the end of the day, I get the job done. I get the job done. Like I said, man, I'm collecting belts and checks.
In recent times, Cormier has adopted a quieter approach to fights, which seems to be appreciated by the fans. That's just about gonna wrap it up for our list of 10 of the best heels in MMA. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button down below. There is a lot of content we can't fit into these videos, so be sure to let us know anything you'd like to see in a future one. Here's our favorite comments from title upsets in the UFC. Stephen Gleave said the biggest upset is Tony versus Habib not happening yet. UFH said, "Welp, I made it before 1,000 views. I have now fulfilled my purpose in life." And MacDaddy3232 said,
"Where's the other dude?"
If you want your comment to be featured on the next video, be sure to comment on this one. Special thanks to Lucas for editing the video and Jake for writing the script. Their links will be down in the description below. And if you're wanting to watch more of our lists, be sure to check out either of these two videos and subscribe to see when we post the next one. See you in the next video.